Before we start today's episode, I want to quickly share something I've been working on. It's called the consistency reset, and I created it for women who are tired of starting over with diets, workouts, and healthy habits. Because most women don't fail because they lack motivation. They struggle because the plan is too strict, too complicated, or simply doesn't fit real life. Inside the consistency reset, you start with the short quits, and then you get the personalized plan with simple daily actions, realistic strength workouts, practical nutrition habits, and reset tools for the days when life gets busy. So if you miss a workout, overeat, have a stressful weekend, or feel like you are falling off track, the goal is not to start over again. The goal is to take next small step and keep going. If that sounds like what you need right now, you can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. But now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Fit Me Turo fitness podcast. For many families, knowing what a healthy meal looks like isn't the biggest problem. The real challenge is getting everyone involved, finding time to prepare food, dealing with picky eating, and avoiding a daily battle at the dinner table. My guest today is Rachel Solano, Curriculum Director at Young Chefs Academy. Rachel has extensive experience teaching both adults and children, and today she helps develop cooking programs designed to build children's confidence, independence, creativity, and practical kitchen skills. In this episode, we will talk about how involving children in cooking may change their relationship with food, what parents can do when a child refuses unfamiliar foods, and how families can create healthier routines without expecting every meal to be perfect. Rachel, welcome to the podcast. And before we get into practical family nutrition, could you share your background and how you became involved with Young Chefs Academy?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation and for highlighting this topic. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So I have always enjoyed food. So my interest in food and cooking really developed at a young age. So my parents were so gracious to invite me into the kitchen when I was little. And I just kind of watched my mom as she prepared meals. I was so lucky to have um, home cooked meals. Every meal was a home cooked meal. And we had a large garden. And so my knowledge and interest in food started at a young age. As my career developed, I had the opportunity to start teaching cooking classes to adults in a gourmet kitchen store. And I was exposed to a lot of different cuisines. I worked with a lot of chefs from a lot of different backgrounds and countries. And after that, I had the opportunity to start working as the curriculum director for Young Chefs Academy. So a lot of my background really was just exposure to lots of different ingredients, lots of different cooking techniques, cultures, and so now I have the opportunity to support teachers and our franchise owners with curriculum and all of the knowledge that I've gained to help them empower this next generation of young chefs and helping kids make healthier food choices.
Yeah, I find this is so interesting topic. As you probably heard from my introduction, my pronunciation is not perfect. When we are recording this, our first son got born 10 days ago, and my sleep have been on and off, but it's cooking. I know that it's going to be a topic, of course, not yet, but in the very soon in the future for me personally also, and I'm so excited to learn from you and how there are so many picky eaters and everything. But what is now, because you have so much experience with the adults and now with the children, as you mentioned. So, what differences have you noticed between how adults and children approach cooking?
That's a very good question. You know, we're all cooking is about curiosity and experimentation, and I don't think there's a real big difference with kids and adults there, but specifically with children, we developing and we all have food preferences, right? As adults,
Mm,
those have been developed. We know what we like and dislike. Um, Kids learn that pretty early on. So, first of all, congratulations on your
no,
growing
thank you.
family. That's amazing. And so, infants, they drink, breast milk formula, maybe slowly introduced to some pureed foods, but it's really the toddler years where that curiosity comes in.
Hmm.
And, kids 3, 4, 5, they want to try new things. They're fearless.
Hmm.
And so this is the prime time for parents to introduce foods, and just expose kids to foods. It doesn't have to be something they're eating. It can be something that they're just touching
Hmm.
or something that they're learning about, but images of the food, maybe you're in the grocery store and you can point out different foods. So, when it comes to healthy food choices, I think just starting kids as early as possible is going to lead, into their adulthood.
Hmm.
Um, I can speak, personally that learning how to maintain a garden and
Hmm.
growing vegetables and taking those vegetables, washing them, how to cook them at a young age really set me up for success as an adult. So, the approach to healthy eating and food choices, the differentiation between kids and adults is just that as kids they're still learning. As adults, we've really kind of defined our preferences at that
Hmm.
point.
It was it's I remember because I'm originally like I'm from Finland and we had like it was later on in my life it was like I think I was like 13, 14, 15-year old and we had a it was part of school. We had a cooking lesson and here now I live in Italy and here nobody teaches you. If you are lucky, your mom or maybe dad, but nobody here from school system. And I found it so valuable, like at a young age to learn to cook. Because if you never, as a young adult, like you move by yourself living and you have never cooked, you have either food have been delivered, you are eating out, or you are getting just something. And this is I found it's so valuable for young age to do because like I was picky eater when I was younger, and that changed. I think when you started yourself doing it, then it changed everything for me personally. But do you remember a child who arrived very hesitant but changed significantly through cooking?
Oh, absolutely. We've had so many good interactions with our students where they the parents will speak for them and say, "Oh, they're not going to eat any vegetables," but they come to the classroom. We
Hmm.
put together a salad. They learn how to make a salad dressing, from scratch. We identify all of the different flavors.
Hmm.
What's beautiful about involving kids in the cooking process is it's not about the recipe. It's not really even about the ingredients.
Hmm.
It's about the skills they're building,
Hmm.
and that exposing them to different things. We can talk about the sources where these foods came from, why we put a vinegar with an oil together and how that
Hmm.
that makes a salad dressing. So um, re- there's so much more to cooking than a recipe and the
Hmm.
ingredients. It's the process, and kids feel a lot of ownership too. When they're
Hmm.
when they're a part of that process, and so I think that it's been such a beautiful thing to see kids really want to be uh, a part of the cooking process, and then at the end, just such pride in what they've made. They are so much more willing to try it,
Hmm.
taste it.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to ask, because there are many, like myself included. I still remember vividly when my mom tried to get me to eat something with mushrooms, and I was like, no, 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 mushrooms are no go. And then she put it somewhere, and I was not like in like my favorite food, like meatballs, which was my favorite when I was younger, and then she put there inside those mushrooms, and I said, no, 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 I see their mushroom, I'm not gonna eat it. But do you, if, because I'm just thinking what you just said in the end, that do children become more willing to taste something when they have helped prepare it? Like, because if I would imagine myself in that situation, that if I would be preparing it, maybe I would have a different opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The research shows that um, ownership breeds enthusiasm. So when you complete a task or you've learned something new, there's so much excitement with that too.
Mm,
So um, yeah, I a lot of when it comes to introducing new foods and encouraging kids to try, those
hmm.
healthy whole
Yeah.
foods that they may not think they like.
Uh-huh.
It takes up to 20 times of exposure to a new ingredient for a child to feel comfortable even, eating it or having it on their plate. So
Uh-huh.
my one of the things we've learned the most as teachers is to be patient
Uh-huh.
and to just find ways to expose the kids to that food. Um, what's really great about cooking too is our students at Young Chefs Academy, they come every week, so we
Mm,
learn two new recipes every week, and it's a very extensive program, um, and they learn different ways of cooking foods.
mm,
So a steamed carrot or a steamed broccoli versus, one in a stir fry with a lot of other ingredients and a wonderful sauce, they learn that, oh, I do like broccoli after all, because we've shown them how that you can, as a chef, and you learn how to cook it, you can learn how to
mm.
cook your vegetables how you like them.
Oh, that's nice. That's what I thought. That it must be like, if you have, like, let's say that you are, as a parent, you want that your child is trying broccoli, but if you just take a broccoli without anything, cook it, it's not gonna be that delicious, and it's hard to eat even for many adults. But then when you learn it like that, okay, there is maybe you put there some kind of sauce or different spices or something. So then you learn like that, okay, this is not, I can change the original taste a little bit with my cooking skills. So it becomes totally different thing. So what at what age, you said something 3 to 5, but at what age can children realistically begin helping in the kitchen? Is it at 3 years old or?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, as early as you're comfortable as a parent, but some of the things that, yeah, a 2 or 3 year old might be able to help with in the kitchen. I can give some specific examples, but start with something small,
Mhm,
one task, because you're still in the kitchen cooking. You've got to get dinner on the table,
mhm,
and as much fun as it is to have them in the kitchen with you the whole time, that's not going to suit both of you. So, finding something that your 2 or 3 year old can do that may take just a minute, but they feel really like they're contributing to the meal. So, something like washing, they may not be able to cut a tomato, but they can certainly rinse it off.
mhm,
Um, and um, Something like tearing up lettuce leaves would be a
mhm,
really simple thing that they could do. Even maybe stirring something or pouring something into a pan. So, as
mhm,
early as 2 or 3, if you are able to, have the time to set aside those
mhm,
few extra minutes to set that up for your child. Um, what we're learning too is that, with any skill, repetition is how we learn things, right? So starting as early as you can is really a
mhm.
great great way to set them up for success. And then, when they're 5 or 6, maybe they're ready to start cracking eggs. And then when they're,
Mm.
10, they're ready to try using a knife to do some dicing with you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear next, because I'm really curious. Like, what would be like if you would give one task or one job for each age range? Let's say that preschool kid, primary school kid, and teenager. Like, what tasks are first of all suitable, and what job you could give for each age group or age
I
range?
love, yeah, really good question. Um, our classes start around we start at age 5, and then
Hmm.
we have 3 different levels of classes, and so we place our students into classes based on their skill level, like you're
Hmm.
talking about. So the youngest group of students will, be learning about measuring, and even like their fine motor skills, holding a spoon and holding a pair of tongs, and using a spatula. Um, they're not involved in much in any of the cooking at the stove.
Hmm.
So, until they're probably the age of 7 or 8, um, all of the things that they can help with don't involve heat, or cooking at the
Hmm.
stove. Um, there are some really great tools that have been designed for kids that are, you know, 4 or 5 years old, safety knives, and then safety gloves. We prioritize safety in our cooking schools.
Hmm.
And so even our youngest chefs, 5-year-old, we will teach them the proper way to hold a knife.
Nice.
Now, mind you, this is a safety knife and it's plastic. And then wearing a safety glove and learning how to use their guide hand with that safety glove to start cutting. So, um, if you have those tools, you can start early with those skills. But I would say also, when we're talking about, what ages, skills
Hmm.
are right for each age, it really depends on your child too. So, if they've been cooking in the kitchen with you for a few years, 8 or 9 might be at the time for them to use a real knife with a
Hmm.
safety glove. I think a safety glove is a great investment even for adults,
Hmm.
to hold on that guide hand. So, um, knife skills is something we introduce pretty early. When it comes to stovetop cooking, we're always supervising that. There's an adult there. Um, when you feel comfortable that your child knows how to use that stove, you may allow them to use it without your supervision, but that's something that we really prioritize. And I would say those things are really important to be with your kids in the kitchen anytime they're cooking.
Hmm.
Um, and then we have lots of fun activities that we do with our kids to learn how to saute with a cool pan and some, beans in the pan, so they're practicing some of those skills without any of the heat involved. So just
Hmm.
getting the fine motor skills and learning the skills that way. So those are some ways that you can kind of start teaching skills without any of without heat or sharp
Hmm.
objects.
Yeah, no, I think that's the most important thing. Like, was if I could imagine if a child or adult, or if child gets involved with the heat or knife, and as a mom or dad, you are next to it. Child has a trauma for a long time, and parent, you probably are getting scared, and I don't know if you ever want to do it. So that's those are very, very good practical tips. So I wanted to talk then a little bit about picky eating and food battles, what we mentioned in the beginning. So first of all, is that picky eating, is it a normal developmental phase? And when should parents become concerned?
Well, that's a really good question. We all develop our food preferences at an early age, and um, our palate tells us what we like and we dislike.
Hmm.
And we know that early on, sugar is something that we like because it highlights those parts of the brain that bring, joy
Mm-hmm.
and satisfaction and happiness. And so a lot of it is physiological, and that is something that's hard to work with. But again, it takes some patience and just a healthy way of introducing new foods to kids is, doing it in a very um, um, non-confrontational way, really
Mm-hmm.
supportive way where they are helping you, wash the vegetables, or they're helping you pick them out in the grocery store. Just touching them and looking at them and talking about them. Um, Patience is a big part of it too. And again, it's going to take several times of exposure to a new food for a child to be comfortable with it. Um, a beautiful thing about, like, if you're really a confident cook in the kitchen, picky eating might be something related to texture even. And so
Mm-hmm.
finding ways to cook a vegetable or a whole food in a way that the it changes the texture of it, that is more palatable to your child. That's a tip I can share. But picky eating really has to do with partly, their environment and the way our preferences are shaped. We're with our families the most when we're young, right? So
Mm-hmm.
having a positive um, approach to food and eating, um, involving kids in that process in the kitchen, it really is a remarkable thing. If you have kids in the kitchen with you, they're so much more willing to try something new. And even if
Mm-hmm.
they put it in their mouth and spit it out, I mean, that's a
That's
win
a
there
win.
because
Yeah,
that's an exposure to it. Uh-huh.
absolutely. So, what is then, what, in your opinion, biggest mistake adults make when a child refuses a food?
Yeah, I don't know what the biggest mistake is, but a few things I would recommend to avoid is to, um, never make food like an ultimatum. You have to eat all your vegetables, or
Mm-hmm.
this is the only thing you can eat, or even making it, you know, food as a reward. So you want to have the conversation about food in a positive light. Like maybe ask them, do you want to have corn or carrots tonight, rather than what kind of vegetable do you want tonight? Involve them in that and
Mm-hmm.
help them by making some of those decisions with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never, I would always just caution from saying, you have to eat your vegetables, or you're not leaving the table until you clean your plate.
Mm-hmm.
Those really kind of instill some negative emotions with food. And so just being patient and finding ways to expose your kids to different foods is really the best way to avoid those biases when it comes to food
Mm-hmm.
preferences.
So, what about then, like, if as a parent, should you ask child to take one bite, or can that create even more pressure?
Yeah,
What
we
do you think?
always, that's a really good question. And I'm glad you asked it because in our cooking schools, we don't have a rule, but we always ask that they at least take one bite. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and taste it. And 9 times out of 10, they'll eat the rest of the food on their plate.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just ask them, please take a bite for me, and let us know what it tastes like. Some follow-up questions are always really, really helpful. Like, what flavors do you taste? What is something that is there another way you would make this food? Um, asking some follow-up questions and helping them kind of get their curiosity going,
Mm-hmm.
and their creative chef juices flowing, um, will also help encourage them to understand, to kind of look at the food as as a creative thing rather than just an object. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then the next thing, what I'm curious, like, what a parent, like, in your opinion, should say to a child who says that I don't like it before even tasting it? what advice I would say.
Yeah, I hear that from adults too.
Yeah.
Um, y- it really isn't that, yeah, that's a tough one. Just always say, what is it that you don't like about it? I think questions to help them identify what it is, and so that
Hmm.
that will be helpful to you too. Next time you maybe make that food, trying it a different way. But again, it always goes back to if there's an opportunity for them to be involved in cooking that or
Hmm.
preparing that or choosing that, they're more likely to give it a try.
Yeah.
And another thing is our palates will change over time. It may take a few years for your child to be comfortable trying something new. So if carrots aren't something they're wanting to try right now, you might find some other vegetables that work,
Hmm.
and then later, a few years later, try it to reintroduce those carrots again.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good advice. Then what is your opinion like that should parents prepare a separate meal when a child refuses to have a dinner?
I don't think so. Um, Really, a well-balanced meal should have, something for everybody. So
Mm.
one of a great tip that we have, that I would share is allowing kids to kind of put their own food on their plate. This may
Mhm.
depend on their age. 2 or 3 might be too young to really do this,
Mhm.
but let them choose how much and what they want to put on their plate. And that's a way to make sure that you're not cooking 2 separate meals.
Mhm.
We're all eating the same thing. The focus should be on the time together too,
Mhm.
rather than, what we're eating. Um, so that's a little we're all very pressed for time already. And,
Mhm.
if you're putting a home cooked meal on the table, that's a win. And the family will just, work together. Giving them the opportunity to choose what goes on their plate is a really helpful tool. Also, allowing them to be a part of the meal planning process and the menu planning process. I love the idea of, when you have a little more time on a Sunday or the weekend, asking everybody for the input. Okay, help me think of rest of what we want to cook this week. We've got 4 meals we're eating at home this week, and I'd love your input. And when kids feel a little bit of ownership there, when that meal comes on later in the week, they're pretty excited about it because they got to help pick it and choose it.
Mhm.
And then also like on when you have a little more time on the weekends to do some meal prepping,
Mhm.
and that's a great time to have the kids in the kitchen with you helping because you've got a little bit more time. So, um, first of all, having them kind of choose a few dishes they really love, and then helping
Mhm.
you prepare them, is really going to set you up for success later in the week. So everybody is excited about eating the same thing.
Mhm. Awesome. No, those I because I was the next question what I wanted to, but you already answered it. I wanted to ask you that if how you could respect like child's appetite and preferences without allowing the child to control the entire menu. But you just answered that, so that is so well answered, and I love those tips. So then, what about language? What we use when we talk with the children, like, and especially how to remain curious about food. Like, for example, is it better to say that you don't like it yet instead of you are a picky eater?
Yeah, that word picky eater, it's a strong statement.
Hmm.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, ask if you hear parents say, "My kids don't like that, my kids are picky." A lot of the questions that I'll address if the child's there, I'll address the
Hmm.
child directly and say, "Well, tell me when you ate that," and kind of think about follow-up questions for them. Um, I don't know how to answer that specifically, except to say that, we all have preferences. Some of us are picky, even as
Hmm.
adults. There's things we dislike. Um, it's we don't have to eat every type
Hmm.
of food. I think it's a great thing as chefs and as kids learning to cook,
Hmm.
understanding what they do like, and helping them learn that on their own.
Hmm.
So not necessarily the word picky, but maybe what do you prefer? We do that
Hmm.
that's the phrase that we like to use is, okay, if you don't like this, what is a vegetable you prefer, or what is the way you prefer to have it
Hmm.
cooked? Yeah.
Yeah, love it. No, because I personally, I don't like if you label someone like as a even child, you probably we do it without even understanding what we are doing. Like if you tell to your child or someone like it could be picky eater, it could be something else, and then as a from young age, you might get that identity or make it even stronger that I'm a picky eater, I don't like this. And then it makes kind of, it's like kind of everything. If you hear something over and over again, then you start to believe it and it makes that identity, what you are building as a child or even as an adult, it makes it even stronger. So I would personally avoid using those and like you said asking better questions or finding different words what are maybe not creating directly that identity.
Very well
But
said.
that's just my take. So what do you think then about those rewards? What you already said little bit like using dessert as a reward for eating, for example, vegetables.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And food is something that we you know we have a lot of choices. We want to have those choices, and when it comes to n- when it comes when we're old enough to start making those choices, it's hard
Mm-hmm.
to always make the healthy ones. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I just knowing that it takes some good habits, and it takes some rituals
Mm-hmm.
where your children are um understanding that we're going to have some vegetables, and you eat as many of them as you can, and then dessert will follow. And it's
Mm-hmm.
never like eat your vegetables and then you
Mm-hmm.
get dessert.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
encouraging them in such a positive way. Try to eat as
Mm-hmm.
many as you can, or um, allowing them to put the amount of vegetables on their plate that they
Mm-hmm.
want,
Mm-hmm.
that they think they will eat,
Mm-hmm.
and then following that with some dessert. But never food should never be a reward,
Yeah.
because we all eat. We have to eat
Mm-hmm.
every day. So food is a necessary part of our life.
Yeah.
And rewards, those are different for different people.
Yeah.
Food should just always be something that we deserve, we should enjoy,
Yeah.
and instead of some sort of a special thing that only happens if we do something good.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And because I still know like many people, women who I work with, they use food as
Yeah.
a reward. It could be that I have been eating well whole day and now or I had a stressful day, or I was doing good workout. Now I deserve something. You are using as a reward, either doing something or as a kind of suppressing unwanted emotional feelings. And I believe that all starts when you are a child. Maybe like often those things they start when we are very young child, and then they follow in the adult, and you might not even recognize it. Maybe your mom, without knowing it, have been using it food as a reward, like that. Now, if you eat your vegetables, you get your dessert or ice cream, and then as a parent, you might think that I can't give only dessert. But I believe, I don't know what you think, but I believe that if there is like dessert shouldn't be rewarded. It don't have to be every day. It could be someday. It could be just the berries or something. It don't need to be some big cake or ice cream or whatever. But if you decide to give like a real dessert, it should be always like a maybe some small portion, that it's not that you are not saving that because you know that you are going to get huge piece of cake or as much chocolate as you want after, and then you get that energy already from there. But instead, if it's just a small portion, what regardless what you are eating before, and if you are not you shouldn't suppress or eat for your hunger with dessert, right? So I believe those are like they are easier said than done, but I believe that rewarding food, it should not, and it starts often at very young age.
Yeah. Yeah, some of our lessons, we talk about why dessert is so delicious and
Hmm.
why even after a big meal, we're still hungry for dessert.
Hmm.
It's because there's a change for our palates, right? We go from something savory to something sweet, and as soon as something sweet touches our tongue, our brain wants more of it.
Hmm.
Even if we're full, that
Hmm.
sweet treat we could eat
Yeah,
even more than we should. So,
yeah,
um, I having the opportunity to share that with our students really puts into a mindset, even at a young age, that, oh, this is what overindulgence sounds
yeah.
like, and that's how it happens. And I love your idea about, a sweet treat being something that is healthy.
Hmm.
There's so many ways to incorporate fruit into,
Hmm.
a dessert
Hmm.
that makes a dessert even healthier, and even a chocolate cake. We can put zucchini in that. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of ways to
yeah,
make sweets healthier. That's probably a whole
yeah.
other subject, but we do talk about that. And then again, it's such an amazing thing when we introduce a recipe. We're going to put zucchini in this chocolate cake, and the
Hmm.
kids are really hesitant. They're involved in the process. They taste it at the end, and they're mesmerized by how much
Hmm.
they like it.
Yeah, yeah. Then other hot topic, like what I have huge personal experience is that what do you think that should children be required to finish everything on their plate?
Mm. I appreciate that question, and I actually have a very strong memory when I was a kid, and that that happened at dinner one night, and I wasn't supposed to leave the table until I cleaned my
Hmm.
plate. And
Yeah.
so, personally, I know how that felt, and I didn't understand it, of course, as a child, why that was so important. Reflecting back, it wasn't necessary for me to clean my plate. If you are so privileged to have 3 meals a day plus snacks, kids should just eat until they're full.
Hmm.
And force feeding is not going to set anyone up for success when it
Hmm.
comes to a healthy relationship with food.
Yeah.
So just even, kids learning their hunger cues, recognizing when they're full and when to stop is a real sign of maturity too. So that's to be celebrated as well.
Hmm. No, absolutely. And I had a talk because I grew up with that I had to almost always finish my plate, and I have to admit I still struggle with it. It's really hard for me to leave something behind. I'm practicing it, and I actually talked with my mom about it. Like, of course, it was she didn't even think about it. Of course, my mom, I'm sure she did everything she knew, but of course she got it from her mom, and it's passing, those things are passing from generation to generation, like where my mom got it from her mom, and of course she didn't know any better because that was her example, and was at the time when my grandma was younger. There was a It was different times. There was not so much food available, and you couldn't waste anything. And now I believe in of course there is still hunger, but most of the people who are listening this, they are not starving. They are not, or you can save it, you can put it in the fridge, use it, eat it later, like that. You don't have to waste it. So or just prepare a little bit less food, and then if you are still hungry, then you can always eat something else a little bit more. But I personally, I think that is it's getting better. I'm for sure, like from generation to generation, what I have seen from my social media and working with my clients. But still, there are still many people who are struggling with that.
Well, I commend you for having this platform and sharing because I think it's definitely changing mindsets about food and
Mhm.
and portion control and what goes on our plates. Because yeah, what you said was spot on about food was scarce, a couple
Mhm.
generations ago, and now we have such an abundance that the new challenge is, not finishing all of our
Yeah.
food, but that
Yeah.
is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I want to talk, like, because I know many of my listeners, they are having very busy family life, and many parents know what they would ideally or what they would like to do, but evenings are so rushed. So what is a realistic starting point?
Yeah, when busy, busy, busy. A realistic starting point would be one meal for the week. We're gonna plan one meal,
Mhm.
and we're gonna prioritize some whole foods for that meal, and perhaps maybe involve the whole family in choosing that meal.
Mhm.
And then if your kids are at the right age, they can help you prepare it. But starting with one, is a great place to start. And then, build on that each week. As you know,
Mhm.
with habits, it's just repetition. I'm getting in the
Mhm.
groove of it. Um, Schedules will change every week. So pick a day of the week that you normally are all home for a few hours in the evening when you can do that,
Mhm.
or maybe prep it ahead. But that would be a great place to start. It's just one meal a week, home
Mhm.
cooked meal. Um, and that's something that everybody can kind of look forward to and participate in.
Mhm. Would you let each child choose one meal for the week?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
Would you let a child choose that meal or one meal per week?
I love that idea. Yes, I would. Let them own a dish. Like maybe
Mm.
it's churros, enchiladas this week. So
Mhm.
you eat this. We're making your meal this week for Friday
Mhm.
night, and something everybody's going to look forward to. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Letting them choose something.
Awesome. Awesome. So, what about then? What role do routines such eating at table or turning off screens play in children's eating behavior?
Yeah, that is that is a lost art. I with smartphones and so many screens, I
Mhm.
find myself sometimes looking at three different screens while I'm eating dinner sometimes.
Mhm.
And so yeah, intentionality there with making a family dinner at the table a priority. Again, maybe
Mhm.
start with one meal a week. I reflect on growing up, and it was three square meals at the table every day. We
Mhm.
sat together as a family. Um, and it's amazing how that has really set me up for success and
Mhm.
my relationships with people. It helps improve grades in school. It helps improve your mental health.
Mhm.
It helps you make healthier food choices. There's so many benefits from it. So the challenge is getting everybody on board with sitting at the table together, but
Mhm.
making it something fun. You can have a little game associated with it. Give everybody a chance to talk at the table and share something from their day. Even incorporating some fun. I say fun, but some etiquette rules. We do that
Mhm.
with our students, and learning the proper way to eat a soup and hold our
Mhm.
knife and fork. Those are really fun activities that engage
Nice.
everybody at the table. So, yeah, again, just that is a very important activity, part of eating is eating
Mm-hmm.
together at the table, eating slowly and being mindful about what you're eating. So I encourage that. And in fact, we have an upcoming lesson this fall
Nice.
with our students, a whole month talking about eating at the family table. So
Oh,
I love that
nice.
you asked that question.
No, nice, because it's something what we do in Italy, and we try to like it's of course I know it's not always possible, but we try to eat one meal per day, everyone together in a family table without phones, without we are actually having conversations, and I find that this is like something when I grew up in Finland that was very rare. Of course, it depends on its individual situation, working, school, and so on. But if just possible one meal, even it's meal per week, but it is such a big difference because it came just my mind like it was it last year we were in a holiday and I don't like to judge other people, but it was just next table or not next to us there was a small child and of course, mom put a phone for the child. I don't know, maybe she was 2, 3 years old, watching phone, and at the same time, mom was feeding her, putting with the spoon food to her mouth, so distracting her from actually. She didn't even know what she was doing, and whatever she was, I don't know, maybe it was the only way she was eating something, but I was just thinking
Right.
at that moment, I still remember it vividly that what what is expectation from that kind of behavior? You are from so small on, you are learning to eat distracted. You are learning to eat that somebody else is putting food to your mouth and then you are just eating it. So I don't believe that she's tasting food or anything like that. There is gonna be a lot of issues also later on. What
Yeah.
is your thoughts?
Yeah, there was no connection to food for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you develop a healthy relationship with
Hmm.
food is food we associate memories and food together so much. They really frame uh, certain meals growing up and memories of the smells of it that your parents or grandparents were cooking, that you carry those through your whole life. So,
Hmm.
if you're not creating great memories by being mindful with your food and your meals, that's something that's going to be missing later in life. And um, I yeah, I love that you shared that story. I parents are challenged
Yeah.
these days with screens and yet, um, making time without screens really positive, carefree. Um, that it, that's the direction I would go, and with that, I mean, I'm guilty of it too, just working through lunch every day,
Hmm.
but sitting and just enjoying a meal without distractions is really the goal for
Hmm.
sure.
So then, before we end, few questions about relationship with food and long-term habits. So, how do adults unintentionally pass their own food fears or dieting habits to children?
Yeah, kids are sponges. They hear everything and they see everything and they learn by repetition. So, um, I think it's a beautiful thing if you can be in the kitchen together cooking and the conversations about food are lighthearted, or you don't even have to be talking about the food. You can be talking, having a conversation with your kids about your day. So, um, if it is important for us to, as adults, to recognize, okay, what are my food preferences? Am I a picky eater? What influences am I having on my kids? How
Mhm.
can I improve that? We have a lot of responsibility there. So
Mhm.
looking inside and understand and recognizing those things first, and maybe trying new foods together,
Mhm.
would be a way for you to instill some healthy habits and
Mhm.
showing kids what, you know, setting a good example for them. But
Mhm.
I always go back to, I'm work at a children's cooking school, so involving them in any process when it comes to preparing the food.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to benefit both parents, adults, and the kids.
Mm. So what happens when child regularly hear adults criticize their own bodies or describe foods as a good and bad?
Yeah, that can certainly shape a young mind into, thinking of food as something that's going to hurt them or going to give them, some negative feelings. So, yeah, it's really important for us as adults to recognize the language we use about food. So, um, family meals together, mealtime should be positive. You
Mm.
know, the um, even for adults, we all have to eat. We have lots of choices there. So, knowing that the choices you make, the kids are going to see that. The words that you use
Mm.
about your body and your eating habits, kids are going to
Mm.
see that.
Yeah.
And really, I think knowing that there's no bad foods.
Mm.
Foods all serve a purpose, and they all can be beneficial, especially if for those of us who don't have three square meals a day. Food is good. Food in any form is going to be important and necessary. But
Mm.
if you have the privilege of choosing your ingredients and your foods, that is something to be proud of, and to know that we have such an abundance of wonderful food, that you can make it a positive. You can
Mm.
turn all of that into a positive, even a piece of chocolate cake.
Mm.
Savor it, appreciate it, and yeah, make it a positive note for your kids.
Mm. So then last question is what for a family that rarely cooks together, what is one small thing they could try this week?
Hmm. A small thing to try this week would be, ooh, I know, a recipe hunt. Have everybody find a recipe that they want to make and bring it, share it with the family, and then just start getting those creative juices
Mhm.
flowing. Like, oh, this is a great, grilled chicken recipe that I want to
Mhm.
try, and then maybe pick one for that week to make together.
Nice. That's a great idea. What is then one thing you wish every parent understood about children and food?
Well, I think something we've already covered is that they're gonna they're gonna their preferences are going to be shaped early on. So the
Mm.
sooner you can get started with you know, teaching kids about cooking or getting them involved in cooking, the better you're going to set them up for success with healthier habits later in life.
Awesome. And where can listeners learn more about Young Chefs Academy and your work?
Well, thank you for that. They can follow us on all social media platforms, at Young Chefs Academy. We have a website that lists all of our franchise locations in North America or in the United States. We have about 34 locations, and we have a handful in development right now. We're really growing. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Rachel J. Solano, and on Facebook.
Awesome. I will put all links to show notes. And thank you so much, Rachel, for this. Was a lot of fun. Learned a lot of new things, and thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your wisdom.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Before you go, if you are tired of starting over every Monday, I want to invite you to check out the Consistency Reset. It's my new personalized coaching app for women 35 to 55 who want sustainable fat loss, simple workouts, practical nutrition habits, and support for real life. You will get daily actions, realistic workouts, and reset tools to help you keep going without guilt or perfection. You can take the quiz and build your personalized plan through the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.